with heartfelt tributes pouring from not only all across our nation but all over the world, I can't help but wonder why Dr. Manmohan Singh was often referred to as an accidental prime minister. Why was he belittled by the media? Why was he demeaned by the opposition leaders? Why was he chastised even by his own party members? Why was his soft spoken and resilient nature undermined? Was he not worthy of respect if he did not exude charisma or exuberance? Let's analyze. So, a brief history about his place of residence. He was born in Gah, a small village in western Punjab, now presently in Pakistan, and it was a backward village. He used to walk miles to study in an Urdu medium school, and he used to study under kerosene lamps. He often credited his growth, his flourish to the various scholarships that helped him study and become a profound knowledge bearer or in the field of economics. And obviously, like many innumerable families, his family also suffered from the devastation which occurred during the partition of India. His family was displaced, and ultimately, he came to reside in Amritsar, Punjab, in India. Now, one of the reasons which we have to analyze in his political career, first of all, he was a Rajya Sabha stalwart. He was a member of Rajya Sabha for 33 years. In Lok Sabha, he was never elected. He just contested the Lok Sabha elections once in 1999 from South Delhi. But he lost that election, and even that election was marred by suspicions that the senior Congress leaders didn't want Manmohan Singh to come into the mainstream picture. And then, when 2004 elections, the Congress won as the single largest party in the parliament leader, Ms. Sonia Gandhi, she refused to take up the top post of the Prime Minister. She instead propelled and elevated Dr. Manmohan Singh to that prestigious position. But the agreement of power sharing, not exactly an agreement, the power sharing structure was as such that Sonia Gandhi was responsible for making and developing all the political strategies, while Dr. Manmohan Singh was given the task of administration and governance. So that is why, in a lot of decisions, his hands were tied. His hands were allegedly tied. But the thing is, what I believe is he studied not only from the Punjab University, he studied from Cambridge. And it is because of Cambridge there was Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh and the Chancellor of the Cambridge University, who remarked emph- emphatically over his blue turban. That is why he resonated with that blue color. It was his favorite color, so it marked his signature style. But often in the parliament, he was called Moni Baba, a silent PM, a weak PM. But what I believe is, when you have studied so much, he was such an economic stalwart. We'll discuss five of his landmark decisions and implementations which led to what we see India as today. So he was also tied by the burden of the coalitions. So he had to cater to demands of a lot of other political parties also, like the left party in particular. So there, the the standout feature was that despite his resoluteness and his silence, he was an able leader and able statesman, and he accommodated not only the senior Congress leaders such as Shri Pranab Mukherjee, but also he was able to balance party dynamics. And he has all he has also been likened by various prominent political leaders as being like a blade of grass who bends, a blade of grass bends under pressure but does not break, unlike tree, a sturdy tree, when it encounters a severe storm, it breaks down. So this is in brief what he was the first non-Nehru Gandhi prime minister, not to mention the first Sikh prime minister. He was the first non-Nehru Gandhi prime minister to serve consecutive two terms from 2004, 2009, and from 2009 to 2014. Okay, so now we discuss his a few of his landmark achievements. First major achievement was the 1991 economic liberalization, privatization, which we fondly call the LPG reforms. Now, in 1991, India was faced with a severe financial crisis under the burden of balance of payments. Even gold had to be mortgaged. The Indian economy was under serious stress. We didn't have sufficient foreign reserves. At that time, India was not an open market economy. So, Manmohan Singh was the finance minister under the leadership of PV Narasimha Rao, who was the prime minister at that time. And it was the vision of Dr. Manmohan Singh that paved the way of opening the Indian market to foreign investment and capital. Foreign investment, foreign capital, the advent or the allowing of foreign of private investment to take place, of global capital to come in. He abolished the license permit Raj. A lot of this reforms, economic reforms took place. But again, the left party in particular, he accused Manmohan Singh of succumbing to neoliberalism and the pressures of the global capital, so much so that they withdrew their support. And at that time, but Manmohan Singh was such an astute leader, he gained the support of Samajwadi Party, and he continued with his government without suffering from a no confidence motion to be successful. Then one of another important achievement was the civil nuclear US civil nuclear deal, which was pursued by India with the US. At that time, the US president was George W. Bush, and now India had already done the Cochrane tests during the time of Indira Gandhi as well as Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Now India was a nuclear power. Now you might have heard of this nuclear suppliers group, which advocates nuclear non-proliferation. So, in order to use or supply or exchange the trade of civilian nuclear goods, they had to overcome this hurdle. NSG group, India was not provided a membership of NSG primarily because India had become a nuclear power. But it was again due to the persuading efforts, the resilient efforts of Dr. Manmohan Singh, that the dogged efforts, that finally the civil nuclear deal came into fruition. And the NSG, it offers various India specific waivers and allowed the conduct of the trade of nuclear goods. Even IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, it also provided some waivers, and the whole global community, it recognized India as a non-proliferating nuclear power, as a nuclear power who recognizes its responsibility that the nuclear weapons are only for deterrence and not for aiming or threatening any of the world global scenario. So this was another great achievement. Then a lot of reforms, the legislations were passed during Dr. Manmohan Singh's tenure. One important was the Right to Information Act, which is now used predominantly by a lot of people, whether for good purposes or for evil purposes. So basically, this RTI Act in 2005, it allowed the public, the common citizen, to obtain information, to seek information from public authorities. Then one landmark was the MNREGS, the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, under which 100 days of assured employment was envisaged to the rural households. Then, Right to Education Act in 2009, which assured education to all children from the age of 6 to 14 years. Finally, the NFSA, the National Food Security Act in 2013, which aimed or envisaged the provision of subsidized grains, especially rice and wheat, to 75% of the rural households and 50% of the urban households. So, in the domestic sector, not only in the market sector or the advanced technological sector, he was a pivotal figure. Then, during the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, he also, Dr. Manmohan Singh, steered. He was the prime minister that time. He successfully steered India away from another economic debacle. He ushered in three fiscal stimulus packages to the tune of 1.84 lakh crores, and that was a massive percentage of the GDP, 3.4% of the GDP. So initially, the in the 2008, 2009, and the subsequent year, the GDP fell to the point of 6.5%. But then after that, because of this stimulus packages and the monetary easing policies which were doled out by the RBI, India was able to escape this economic repercussions of the 2008 US subprime crisis. And so, in this way, he was able to not only manage that the GDP properly, but also the continuous sustained growth of the Indian economy. So, fiscal stimulus was there. Okay, and finally, a lot of measures were there for the minorities, for women, for children, for the aged, for the SCs and STs. So, for the tribals, a lot of initiatives were brought about for women and children, and some of the important committees which were established, especially for the minority Muslim religion. So, they were the Sachar Committee and the Ranganath Committee. So Sachar Committee, very important, one should be aware of it. Sachar Committee was basically for the upliftment of the minority Muslim community, and Ranganath community was established so that the rights and the privileges that were available for the SCs, especially the Dalits who had converted to Islam, so they were not deprived of the privileges. And he even said that minorities have the first claim, especially Muslims have the first claim over the nation's resources. Okay. So finally, even during his last months, he kept a dignified behavior, despite, however, his political party, his own Congress party, had treated him. He was lambasted by Rahul Gandhi for an ordinance which overturned SC's decision that the MPs or the members of parliament will be disqualified as soon as they are convicted for 2 years in prison. And he remained resolute. He never said anything ill about his party. He always was mentally alert. The only lingering question remains that while in office, could he have further pushed the envelope of the Prime Minister's office? So, with that, we conclude the session for today. Jai Hind.